Well, folks, today we have some brand new Switch 2 news to go over. A new feature, well, that's kind of there for your protection on the physical aspect of the screen when it comes to Nintendo Switch 2. We also have some new gameplay footage of a couple Switch 2 exclusive games. And really, a majority of this video is going to be spent talking about how I was wrong, or at least approached a certain situation incorrectly, what I'm planning to do about this sort of coverage moving forward, and just taking ownership over a mistake I made. So probably a mistake I made. It's a weird situation for me personally, and we'll talk about that in the second half of this video. There'll be timestamps down below for everything like there usually is. Also, there's been a bug lately with YouTube where sometimes it's not showing my timestamps on the actual timeline of the video. So just know I always have the timestamps down in the description, so you can always open the description and skip around the video. All right, that being said, we are giving away 5 copies of Donkey Kong Bonanza. To enter and win one of those 5 copies, all you got to do is go down and click on the link down in the description or the pinned comment, and email is all that's required to enter, beyond obviously being legally eligible in your given country. It is a worldwide giveaway, as long as giveaways are legal in your country. There are some countries where it's not. Thank you guys so much for entering. And let's go ahead and get into our first story. And this deals with Nintendo putting something on Switch 2 that they didn't do with Switch until the Switch OLED. And that is a protective film. Now, you see over here, this is the basically the thing that we learn it from. This is the user manual, essentially, the Nintendo Switch 2 legal mumbo jumbo in the user manual in a completely different language. So I can't read that language, but thankfully other people can. And one of the places this popped up was over here at Family Boards. Now, Family Boards is interesting because they don't always give a ton of explanation behind everything. They just say, hey, this exists. So instead, we're going to go to Universal Nintendo's article on this. It's also pretty short because there isn't a lot to talk about, at least in terms of what the news is. It says Nintendo Switch 2 has a thin anti-shatter protective film applied to its screen from the factory. Nintendo recommends the protective film is not removed, right? Like, don't remove that film. Now, it says more aspects of the Switch 2 are being discovered as its launch approaches. Like the Nintendo Switch OLED model, Nintendo's new console will come with a thin protective film applied to its glass screen from the factory. According to the manual published by the company on its official website, this measure aims to prevent the system's screen from suffering scratches, but mainly it does not fragment into several pieces in accidents that involve its breakage, such as falls, for example. Nintendo recommends that users do not remove this protection measure from the Switch 2 screen. Even with it applied, however, it is possible to install additional protective measures, such as the well-known glass and silicone films that are sold by various manufacturers. Switch 2 is scheduled to launch globally on June 5th. Now, I have seen people argue that because this film is there, they don't feel like they need a screen protector. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think this really replaces the screen protector. The primary purpose of this is if the glass shatters, it doesn't shatter and go all over the place or get into your fingers and stuff like that. That's the point of this protective film, and it exists on lots of electronic devices that have touchscreens. Really, you should still use a screen protector. And here's my argument. When you scratch that film, you can't get rid of the scratch. You can't get rid of it. If you remove that film and then try to apply a normal screen protector, sometimes you can even break the screen doing that. So I do not suggest you even attempt to remove that film. I think it's better just to protect that film as well. Put a glass screen protector on top, move on. The glass screen protector rarely, if ever, if you have a good one, affects your ability to actually use the touchscreen functionality. They've been considering that stuff for many, many years. Again, lots of devices use this stuff. So I just want to say, hey, do that. Don't worry about it. Let's move on to our next topic here. We have some brand new footage of Drag X Drive from the Nintendo Today app. This one about passing. So let's go ahead and give it a watch. So there you go. Short, sweet, to the point. Look, obviously, Drag X Drive, I feel like needs a demo. I feel like they should really put a demo for this out on the Switch 2 eShop, and maybe they will. We still don't have a release date for this. And I know looking at the social media footage like this, it always ends up being a little bit blurry. It's really hard because Nintendo has limited how we can record footage on the actual, through the app, which is just not great. And depending on how Nintendo displays that footage, it's hard sometimes to get high quality captures. That being said, we do have a bit of a higher quality capture here for, well, a new feature by Nintendo today, or at least by the Switch 2, feature by Nintendo today about being able to filter your screenshots. And this one I think is something many people are going to use. So let's go ahead and unmute this and give it a watch. Here we go. Look at that. Guys, they did some really cool things that should have just been on Switch from the beginning, if we're honest. Filtering your screenshots by person, filtering it by game. You saw other filter options there. None of this stuff was really there during the Switch era. I obviously don't know if this works on Switch 1 or if this is exclusive to a Switch 2 feature. Again, stuff like this can require slightly more RAM, just a little bit. But anyways, so maybe it's not on Switch. I gotta double check. I haven't booted up my Switch in a while. I'm pretty sure that this is a Switch 2 thing, or we would have already been talking about this, right? So pretty cool. Again, feel like this should be on Switch 1, but it's nice to have it regardless because, again, it's just something we didn't have before. Now, folks, things are about to get a little spicy, mostly against me. So I reported on a story yesterday. A story from a GBA Temp forum. GBA Temp is a well-known place for hackers and piracy. Well, maybe piracy is the wrong word. Modding. It's a big website for the modding scene around Nintendo systems. Because again, not everyone modding is pirating, right? Those are two different things. Although there's a relation because you can't really pirate without modding. Well, you can if you have an emulator and you download. Again, they're technically not the same thing. And I reported on a story about how Nintendo or some people were reportedly testing different Switch 2 hardware, because Switch 2 hardware is out in the open, trying to modify it. And everything they were doing were bricking the system. They couldn't even load operating systems, or it'd have to use Nintendo servers. And okay, look, this is where somebody called me out for this, and it wasn't just one person. So let's go ahead and run the reel of the comments. This is a fun one. Yeah, some people got quite nasty about it. Some people were respectful. Look, here's the thing. I'm out of my depth talking about the modding scene. I always have been, and I probably always will be, because I don't modify my systems. The closest thing I came to modifying was when I bought a new 3DS out of Japan that was pre-modified to record footage. So it was a company in Japan that would basically put an HDMI out that allowed you to record footage through a capture card of the Nintendo 3DS. That's the only modding I participated in, and I bought it pre-modded. I didn't do the modding myself. Then when you want to talk about like any other thing like using homebrew, I did homebrew my Wii, and it was really easy to do it, and it didn't really require modifying the system to do it. Like, that's how easy, homebrew is like huge on Wii. It's still huge to this day. So that's the last time I used homebrew, and that was the last time I used a modded system intentionally for my own purposes. And again, my purposes were just to capture footage. It wasn't anything nefarious. I'm not dumping games. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not trying to like inject ROMs onto it. I literally just wanted to record footage for content. That was it. So, I don't participate in the modding scene, and I probably never will. I have participated, like my experience taking apart systems is repair. And repair is not the same as modding. Repair work basically just means you're taking a component that's broken or water damaged or whatever, and you're fixing it. And you're replacing it sometimes with a knockoff component if it'll work. Not all these devices will let knockoff components work, or you're finding donor boards and donor parts and replacing. There are some things you can replace, some things you can't replace. Nintendo, as an example, made the memory module we always thought could be upgradable. They made it tied to the motherboard and chip. So if that memory module ever has a problem, the only people that can fix it is Nintendo. So that's not even true across the board that we have the ability to repair everything, but it is true that I do have a lot of experience with repairing systems. But repairing systems is literally not the same as modifying. Making mod chips, trying to get, just the lowest level access to the memory module so you can boot load in things. I'm not someone that does this stuff. Overclocking the systems, all of that stuff. I do overclock my PC, but that's because PCs freely allow you to do that. It's like encouraged even at times. So literally, like the applications you can download that support your CPU and GPU come with overclocking settings. Like they literally encourage overclocking, and you can even get more fine-tuned by using the BIOS of your motherboard, and you can get way in the weeds with overclocking. But that's all encouraged in the PC space. That's not encouraged by Nintendo, Sony, or even Microsoft on the Xbox. So look, the bottom line is I am very out of depth talking about this aspect of the video game world. And because I'm extremely out of depth, I am way more prone to making mistakes. And one thing I can do about the mistakes that I made and is reevaluate my processes for deciding if and when a story is worth talking about. So the reason we talked about this modding situation is because it was spreading. That was literally it. I don't understand it. I couldn't tell you what's true or not true, or if it's all false. I don't know. I know it's a random user on a forum, but for some reason, it was getting spread all over Reddit. It was getting spread all over various socials and lots of people talking about it. And I felt like, well, I don't know enough about this. I did reach out to some people that I know are deep in the woods on the modding scene, but they wouldn't tell me one way or another. It turns out the modding scene basically doesn't like me. So because they don't like me, I still to this day, even someone was on my live stream last night saying, hey, they could provide some explanations because they have been modding systems for 20 years. And I asked them to email me, and I still don't have that email. So I still don't have an explanation for why the story is false. I'm just being told that it is by people that I respect, like Modern Vintage Gamer and, honestly, you guys in the audience. And the biggest thing for me is not necessarily saying that the story is wrong, because I can't say that definitively. I don't know. What I can do is change the processes for what I cover. There was a time at this channel that we used to cover every little morsel of rumor out there, true or false or otherwise, right? That was definitely a thing this channel used to do. And I, over time, have slowly whittled that down from reporting every little morsel to sticking to things that have a bit more credibility, or at least a track record to follow, to make it worth at least a discussion point. And for some reason or another, I just took a story that was spreading and did the thing that I always chastise others for doing, covered that spreading story despite not being able to verify anything or even see a usable track record from this particular user. I'll give you an example of a story I haven't covered that I did do my due diligence on, and it's why I haven't covered it. Many of you might know, or if you don't know and you're hearing for the first time, there is a rumor going around for the Zelda movie on who the actor, whatever you want to call them, being selected to play the Zelda role. And there's some controversy around this for some people because it's a trans person. I actually don't care about that. What I cared about was the source of the rumor. The source of the rumor does come from an account that has some credibility, but their credibility is about letting us know when trailers are going to drop before they're announced. That's cool. It's an account that's very accurate with that stuff and has a long history of several years of letting us know when new trailers for movies are about to drop before they're announced. Cool. I actually don't think there's a problem with that. I think it's kind of neat to get excited about an upcoming trailer on a random Friday that you don't know is coming unless this person told you. That's neat. I like that. It also lets me know to check my socials that day and maybe not miss it and find out about it from a friend and be shocked, right? So that's cool. However, everything else that account has ever said that wasn't about when a trailer was going to drop has been false. There has been several reports by them about certain actors and actresses playing certain roles in certain things, about certain movies getting made, about a whole bunch of other stuff in the TV and movie realm, and all of it's been untrue. Not just like some of it, all of it. And because I was able to do that research and verify that stuff, and it wasn't hard because a lot of people were bringing it up, but then I just dug myself and I'm like, oh yeah, a lot of this stuff they said over the last years, unless it was just about a trailer dropping, wasn't true. Made me realize this person probably doesn't have actual sources for the real movies and the trailers. Their sources, not for the trailer, for the movies and like the actors and actresses and what's being made. Their sources are likely just like companies that handle the trailers. And so they know when the trailers are going to drop. So I came to the conclusion that story wasn't worth covering because the information is unreliable. It's just unreliable. It's not worth covering. A lot of other places covered it. A lot of news channels did. A lot of YouTubers covered it. I decided not to cover that story because I was easily able to verify, yeah, this person's probably not correct because they aren't correct about anything that's not trailer based on like when a trailer's dropping. Okay. But here's the thing. I am more in depth and more in tune with movies and TV than I am the modding scene. And so I looked into this user account and couldn't really see anything about anything they've been right about or anything that they've been wrong about. It's just a random user over on GBA Temp. So my problem with how I handled that situation was I have been slowly whittling things down to only covering rumors, reports like that from things that have a trackable track record of, hey, maybe they don't get everything right, but they get some things right. When talking about PH Brazil with the Nintendo Direct rumor for June, again, the guy's gotten plenty enough right to make it worth covering, but it's also notable he doesn't get everything right. But still, it's worth covering. Something like that probably wasn't because I couldn't verify things either way on if they've ever been right on anything. And so because of that, I actually ended up going against my own policy and shared a story just because it was spreading rather than because there was any trackable merit I could see. And the hard thing for this is the trackable merit I can see can be really hard in a scene that I know so little about. But that doesn't matter. I know enough to like look at prior posts and then do Google searches to see if that stuff was true. Nothing checked out as true. Nothing checked out as false. So that means there's no trackable history. So I should not have reported on it. Maybe a random comment on X could still happen, but I don't view my comments on X, and I know a lot of people view it differently, and it's fine if you view social media comments differently as well. I don't consider my comments on X to be reports. Those are just my initial quick reactions, and there could be a lot of inaccuracies and things wrong about that because those are my quick thoughts on something that just happened, right? That's before I've done research. That's before I've calculated everything, and that's what my videos are for. My videos are my researched thoughts, takes, and evidence and facts, right? So like when people tell me I've never criticized Switch 2, I'm just a shill, get Nintendo's you know what out your mouth. They don't watch my videos because my videos of where I have been actually highly critical at times of Nintendo since April 2nd. But it's because they look at my Twitter takes that maybe don't have that full context because those are just like quick reactionary thoughts rather than, hey, here's my full thoughts. And you know, things happen. I get taken out of context because I don't provide the full context on Twitter. You might see long diatribes and paragraphs on Twitter from me, but those are still just my initial thoughts. I'm not really doing a ton of research into that stuff. I just enjoy talking about games, and my opinions and my thoughts change as I get more educated on different aspects, as more facts come up, and sometimes just as arguments that are based on facts that go against my arguments, also based on facts, or at least what I hope are based on facts, can sometimes sway me and make me change my mind. So I am open to having my mind changed, is what I'm trying to say. I don't feel like everyone else always is, but I'm not right about everything. And I make a lot of mistakes. And this is now 2 videos in a row where I have made what I feel are inexcusable mistakes as somebody who is against misinformation. I hate misinformation. And while covering rumors is fine, and rumors can end up being misinformation, but rumors are meant to be doubted. One, I didn't even treat this like a rumor. That's like one of the things I'm beating myself up the most about. Is I didn't treat this like a rumor. And beyond that, what I also didn't do is realize that this actually goes against my own reporting standards. I don't know what was going through my mind. Some argue that I'm just chasing the clicks. I don't know. The title of the video changed in the first 10 minutes. So the title went from looking at people who might be interested in the modding and the bricking stuff into just a general news title because I didn't think that title was appropriate. I don't know what made me hit publish on that title, but it is what it is. It was a mistake, and I corrected it within 10 minutes. But the bottom line is that I shouldn't have reported on it. It didn't meet my reporting standards. And more than letting you guys down, I'm disappointed in myself. I let myself down. I created my own reporting standards. I literally have them on my computer. These are the checklist I go through to make sure something's worth reporting, or if it's a rumor, what makes the rumor worth talking about. And I didn't call it a rumor. And while I'm not the source on it, so I'm ultimately not the one telling the lies, spreading stuff like this that isn't necessarily reliable or adding to the further spread makes me not good. I'm flawed. It is what it is. I'm going to try to do better. If this makes you not want to watch my content anymore, I completely understand. That being said, I do want to end this video by just reminding everyone the Switch 2 comes out this week. And ultimately, that's what really matters. Set my videos aside, take it all away. Switch 2's coming out this week. You're either excited for it or you're not excited for it. You're either going to buy it or you're not going to buy it. You either can afford it or you can't afford it. Look, that's the reality this week. We have Summer Game Fest this week as well. That should be exciting for all gamers. We have the Microsoft Showcase. We have a bunch of indie stuff going on. Probably a Direct this month. So there's a lot going on. And I'm going to be there still doing my job. But all I can tell you is I'm going to try to do better. I'd say I'd promise it, but I'm sure I'll make mistakes in the future. All I can do is own up to it and attempt to be better. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next video.